Now that we have the first component, the bottom bracket shell, we can add this to an assembly and we can use our initial frame sketch to start laying out the frame. Open this bottom bracket shell part and we're going to make an assembly by going to File, Make Assembly from Part. We're now taken to a new empty assembly and you should see your part here on the left. Make sure that's selected and then press the green tick. And that part is now inserted, fixed to the origin of this assembly. You can see here on the left, there's a small F next to it. That indicates that it's fixed. And if you try and drag it around, it should say that it's fixed. If you find that you can move yours around, you can just expand the part here on the left, select the origin, and then hold down Control and also select the assembly origin, and then add a coincident mate. And then we can save our assembly as something like bike frame assembly. Now let's recreate our 2D frame layout sketch. If you hover over these default planes on the left, we can see that the right plane cuts through the middle of that part. So we're going to use this plane to start our sketch layout. Select that plane and press Sketch, and then go to a normal to view. You can find this on this view menu here. If you don't have this open, you can just press the space bar and it will open. So select normal to, and now we're viewing from the side and we're drawing on that plane. Now let's use our 2D frame layout to make that sketch using construction lines. You can use the diagram from the exercise files and make this sketch yourself, or you can just follow along with this video. It's probably easiest to sketch all of the lines first and then add dimensions and relations afterwards. So I'm going to get a center line, click on the drop down next to the line tool, and let's start from the bottom bracket that we already have. So first I'm going to draw the rear triangle, something like this, and make sure this line isn't horizontal. It should be slightly angled up like this. If you do accidentally get a horizontal line, you can always just click on it, select the horizontal relation, and then press delete, and then move the line back to about the right place. And then continue adding center lines. So the next one comes up like this. Then there's one up from the middle of the bottom bracket, goes up like this, and the top of this line finishes on that line, but not at the end point. Next we can add the large wheelbase line. So this is the only one that's horizontal in the whole sketch. So it starts at the back here and goes off to the front. And we can continue to add lines in. So next we've got a small line like this. And then at the front here we've got a fork line that goes up like this. And then another one that goes down to there. Up here we've got the head tube. And then we've got the down tube that goes up like this. And then finally we've just got another tube, starts from the top of this line and it goes along something like this. So again, make sure these aren't horizontal. This should be the only horizontal one. Now we can start to add some relations and dimensions. Let's add some relations first. So let's zoom in, select this front line and also this line and make those perpendicular. And then also select this line and make those two collinear. So they follow the same line. And now we can start to add some dimensions. I'm going to get the Smart Dimension tool. I'm going to start with this largest line and it should be 1040 millimeters long. And as you add that dimension, you'll probably see your sketch moves around a little bit. That's all right because we can fix that later on. Now we can add some angles. So the first one here is the head tube. So it's from this line to this horizontal line. And this is 71 degrees. And then the next one is the seat tube. So again, it's from that horizontal line, goes up to the seat tube, and this one is 74 degrees. Then I'm just going to work from the back to the front and start adding in some dimensions. So this rear line is 450. Make sure you don't get this horizontal distance. Make sure you get the length of the line. So you might need to move your dimension around a little bit like this. So we don't want this horizontal one. We want the full length of the line. And that should be 450. Then the bottom bracket drop here. So it's from here to here is 50. Then the fork rake here at the front is 45. So again, it's the length of the line, not the horizontal distance. The fork length here is 376. And then the head tube, you might just need to drag these out a little bit so they're back in the correct position. Just going to move these up a bit. You can just take your time and go through it. So the head tube up here is 170. Next up, the length of this seat tube is 500. So it's the full length of the line, not the vertical distance. So just move the dimension around like this, and let's make this 500. And then we can add this small dimension here. This one is 30. And then the only thing left to fix is this dimension. So I'm going to drag it up to roughly the correct place, something like this. And then I'm going to get Smart Dimension again. And the first one to add is the actual length of the top tube line. So I'm going to click on the line itself. And this should be 521 millimeters. So it's the actual length of the tube. It's not that horizontal length. So that should be 521. And then the final dimension to add is called the top tube effective length. So this starts from the top of the seat tube here, and it goes forward to the front end of the top tube. And this one is horizontal. So this should be 530 millimeters. And as you add this in, it should fully define the whole sketch. So we can see down here it says fully defined. So this sketch is now ready to use with the rest of the assembly. If you have any problems with the sketch, if you find that some of the numbers don't seem to work properly, then just have a really careful look over it. Make sure you haven't got any automatic relations by mistake. For instance, the only horizontal line is this one. Make sure that this line isn't horizontal, for example, and make sure that this one isn't vertical. Sometimes you can also get parallel relations by mistake. So make sure that this line and this line aren't parallel, and maybe make sure these two and this one aren't parallel. If you're still having problems, then just check that all your dimensions are starting from the correct place. For example, this one starts from the top of the seat tube, not from the end of the top tube. And if you're still having problems, then just go through the whole drawing really slowly and just double check everything from front to back. This initial sketch can take a bit of time to set up correctly, but once we have it right, then it will save us a lot of time with the construction later on. And when you're finished, you can exit that sketch and let's save the assembly.